So, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ike MMA podcast or the Ike MMA show. And I'm joined in the studio today by mixed martial arts athlete Shanelle Dyer. How are you feeling? How are you?
I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Um, so um, I saw in your not stories your Instagram that you've recently been selected to represent England at the upcoming is it Four Nations Championships in
Yeah,
July. Now
yeah.
that's congratulations.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
really good. No, that's a big achievement. But um, as with all the people I interview, I like to start the conversation almost always how as in your background. How did you get into combat sports as a whole? As in where did your interest start?
I started combat sports about 10 years now. I started with Muay Thai. I only started MMA about like 3.5 years, but I started Muay Thai initially. My whole family's sporty, so from like a
Mm,
young age, my parents used to get me and my siblings into sports. I've basically done everything. I've done like football, swimming, long distance running, short distance running, street dance, even ballet. But nothing really stuck 100% other than football and martial arts when I started martial arts when I was 9 years old. I just fell in love with it instantly. I loved the
yeah.
challenge. I loved the people that I met. I loved the traveling as well with my friends. I loved the training. So that's what stuck with me when I was 9 years old when I started sport. And I think my parents got me into it because they did. It's the area that we kind of grew up with. You see that stuff happening left, right, and center. So they kind of wanted to give us a positive outlet, positive distraction to so what we can put all our energy into after school. We're not going to be hanging around the streets doing stuff. We will be going to the sport, dedicate most of our time and effort into the sport, so we don't get deluded
Mm.
and um, uh, get into those type of stuff. So I think that was really positive and give us a sense of positive role models. So
Yeah.
from a young age, I'm surrounded with world champions, people that I came from the exact place of me, and they're making a lot of money, positive role models. So they wanted me to be surrounded by people like that, and I'm glad that that happened because it got me to where I am today.
No, that's good. So there's something positive to focus your mind on. And I get completely what you're saying that they wouldn't want you to be just hanging around idlessly,
Yeah,
aimlessly, and unfortunately probably getting into trouble with the law. That I fully understand that. And that is really good. That's awesome. Um, but getting to the sports itself, because you can see it is a brutal sport. There's no question about it. And as you, because you're still very young, as you progress through your career, you're an amateur fighter now. But of course, a few years down the line, I'm sure you are going to turn pro.
yeah,
Um, were there any concerns for your health? Because you can see in the cage that it's really, it can be a really brutal sport. But that's part of the sport. But I mean,
yeah.
was there any concerns from family for things such as your health, injuries to your body, and especially areas such as your head?
Yeah, from young, I used to get like injuries. Not I'm lucky because I haven't got any like bad major injuries that I could tell you about. God forbid, touch wood. But from like younger, I used to just come back from training fights with like sprained ankles, twisted ankles, like bruises and stuff like
Mm.
that. And that's kind of got the norm. That's what I don't think my mom wants my little sister to do as well because she had to deal with all the little bumps and niggles from when I was younger. But lucky for me, I haven't got any major injuries, especially with like Muay Thai. But I think my dad and parents were kind of skeptical of me starting MMA initially because they didn't really see it as an art as like Muay Thai and stuff. They just thought, oh, cage fighting, they're just going to like rip people's head off and just brutality. And I think when they kind of saw me fight and train and do the sport first, they kind of okay, they're kind of getting what it is, and it's not just about just biting someone's head off. There's actually an art to it, which is really special, which I want to emulate as well. But yeah, there's risk coming to sport, and I take that head on. So everything I do, I try to minimize the risk. I try to stretch as much. Shout out to my recovery QR unit. They keep me on tip form every week with massages. If I have a little bit of a bruise, they'll try get that done. So I really try to take care of my health outside the ring and outside of training as much as I can. So I try to lower the possibility of me getting major injuries as well.
So earlier you said that you come from a very sporty and athletic background, or your whole family's involved in sports in one way or the other. So you mentioned that you did have almost have a hand at different sort of sports, as you mentioned
Yeah,
ballet, kickboxing,
yeah,
jiu-jitsu. Um, but for mixed martial arts, was it the fact that maybe even when you're training or even when you're in the cage competing, was it like this feels very therapeutic? This feels like I can show and I can kind of show off all the abilities and all these sorts of all the offenses, all the things I know, all the talents that I have in combat sports. I can
yeah.
bring them together and show them off.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of drew me into MMA initially, because the one thing I really love about MMA is it gives you like the freedom to like express yourself inside the cage. Like if you see my last fight, like I was smiling, having fun,
Yeah, I did see that.
pointing.
Yeah,
There's no limit to people be like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. But there is in MMA, but it gives you such free reign to show your personality and who you are in the ring as well. Because what I didn't really like about football and stuff, I played football all over when I was in secondary school, high school. That if your teammate doesn't want to do something, it lets down the whole team. So you're relying on other
yeah,
people,
yeah,
and then you're kind of limited. If five people don't want to run, then your team is not going to lose, and then I don't really like that. So I think MMA is that sport for me because it gave me such free reign to kind of do what I want. And there's so much compartments to it. You'll never
yes,
get
yeah,
bored training MMA. If you don't want to do striking one day, you can do jiu-jitsu. If you don't want to do jiu-jitsu, you can do wrestling. There's
yeah,
so much
yeah.
ways that the fight can end, and so much stuff you can do in the fight, which is amazing. And yeah, so I think that's really the sport for me.
You're sorry, just running off what you said. You're absolutely right. There's always,
Yeah,
as in, there's nothing, as in, uh, what I meant to say is mixed martial arts. There's always something you can work on. There's always one area that you can train, because it's made up of so many parts: the jiu-jitsu, the judo, kickboxing, stand-up, ground game, your striking, and your last fight with her name was Kelly Stadden
yeah,
at Cage Warriors. Um, just watching how you're performing in the cage there, you look like these sorts of fights that you always put pressure on your opponent. You always want to
yeah.
gradually go in there and pick them apart.
Yeah, I think from I'm from a Thai background, so I kind of start off slowly. I kind of the first round will always kind of be close. I'm trying to gauge my distance and stuff like that, work out what they are. But when I gauge my distance, and my game plan sets, then I start applying the pressure and try to break them down mentally and physically and go forward, forward, forward. But I think my last fight, where I did really well, because usually I'm the most aggressive fighter. I was working this with my boxer coach a few weeks prior. That is, it's amazing to go forward, but there's no harm in going backwards a couple of times. And I rewatched that fight, and a couple of times I did take a step backwards when she was trying to lunge or shoot at me. So I was going like forward, forward, backwards, forward, forward, backwards, and that's how I ended the fight. Like if you see the last 5 second sequence, I was waiting. I went forward, forward, backwards because she threw forward, forward, backwards. Then I went forward and I ended the fight. So yeah, I'm always gonna be an aggressive fighter. I love standing. If I could stand and bang for like 25 minutes, I would. But and that's how I used to fight when I was younger. But you can't really do that, as you said before, about the injuries and stuff. And people at a high level, people could take you down easier, especially in
Oh, yeah.
MMA. You'll burn out. People will pick you apart easier. So I try to have a balance. Control aggression is what I'm for.
So you're going to be competing in the Four Nation Championships in July. Is that what they also called, as in the acronym? Is it EMAFs or IMAFs? IMAFs. Um, so for that, I mean, that's going to be happening in July. July, we're now just about to cross the middle of May, but that's not too far away. Um, I'm assuming you started with preparing already. Your fight camp, diets, training, just general overall preparing. How's that going? That's
Yeah,
if you.
I'm kind of getting back into training. I fought 2 weeks ago now, so I've been taking kind of a break. The the Four Nations is about 8 weeks now, so that gives me a solid time to get fit and ready. I'm already fit because I like staying fit throughout the whole year. So just trying to get everything back on par now. Cause took a significant time off of training. I went on holiday for weeks. I wasn't training nothing for a whole week, but the championships is 8 weeks away. Lucky for this one, I don't have to cut weight because for the IMMAF event, you have to weigh in every single day, and it's a tournament over 3 days, and you have to weigh in every single morning, same day weigh in. So you can't really cut weight for those championships, maybe about 2 kg. So I'm gonna be fighting kinda, and everyone's in the same boat, so everyone's kind of fighting at weight class up, and so I don't have to really cut weight for this fight. But I'm just trying to get the technique and everything on par and leveling up because I'm going to be fighting people internationally and people
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
sure.
I don't know who I'm fighting until the day. So everything has to be on par. So if I need to use my jiu-jitsu, I can use it. My
Mm.
wrestling, my cage control, my striking has to be on point. So yeah, trying to get back into my fight camp, preparing for that as well.
So it's one of those competitions whereby that you have no idea who you're going to be facing on the day of the fight.
Yeah, I think because this is the English. This is the first time we've ever done this type of event, the kind
Mm.
of the Four Nations. But they're trying to do like the IMAAF style events because there's the IMAAF Europeans in September. I'm trying to go to, and the IMAAF World Championships sometime later on this year. So I think this would be a great starting point for me to familiarize myself in the tournament aspects because I've done a lot of tournaments in Muay Thai, but I haven't done no tournaments in MMA with shin pads and fighting every day across 3 days and not know who I'm fighting an England team in my corner, stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm getting the rounds in and the fights in as well. I can get 3 fights over a whole weekend, which is amazing, especially in amateur.
I was going to say, you don't know who you're going to be fighting, but that can be quite. Well, I'm not an athlete. I'm not yourself. I'm not going
Yeah,
to be in the cage, but that can be a bit of a pain because you can't study your challenge. You can't study who your
yeah,
test is going to be. So you don't know what to expect. You don't know what their strengths are. You don't know what their
yeah.
weaknesses are.
Yeah, but for me, I think that kind of plays in my favor because most people who start MMA, they kind of have a background in other sports. For me, I have like an intense background in Muay Thai, so I've had more than 100 fights, and most of these fights came from tournaments exactly like these. So I've been going into tournaments not knowing who I'm fighting until I get into the ring with them, and then I kind of had to suss them out in the first round. That's why I said before, I'm kind of a slow fighter because I suss out my opponent always in the first round. I'm not the type of person to go out.
Mm.
If you put out a post up who I'm fighting, I go out YouTube, their Instagram, Facebook, and go research and
Yeah.
watch all their fights. I never do that. I
Mm.
maybe flick through their Insta or through their last fight a bit and be like, okay, she's a judoka, she's a kickboxer, she's a wrestler, and that's it. And I focus on myself because there's nothing that I can do to change what they're doing. I just have to focus on my strength and my weakness and my weaknesses, and go out and suss them out in the first round and play to my game. Most of my fights, I'm playing to my game anyways. By the time we get to the second or even the third round, they're playing to my game, and I'm always in control by the later rounds. So that's what I'm gonna have to do, and everyone's in the same boat in these fights. So that's how the fights are going to play out in the tournament. So I'm looking forward to it, and it gives an element of surprise as well. It gives you
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that kind of nervous, like, oh, who you gonna get, what they're gonna do, which I'm excited for as well.
Oh, that's really good. That element of surprise. I mean, I think I'm gonna push a little bit on this. You would never, because for me it's like going walking into an example for this, for in your case as the athlete, it's far more brutal. I mean, it wouldn't even put your mind at ease somewhat, just knowing, just having just a little taste for seeing what you're
Yeah.
going to be coming up against. That's all.
No, I don't know 100% if they're going to release the matches, but you can kind of get a sense of who you're fighting when they release like the teams. But you don't know who you're going to get matched up with. You might not fight them because it's going to be a tournament of like 8 fighters in your cat, so you might not be against like the other 4 or 5 fighters. So you never know.
Now, competing in the IMMAFs, that's a big deal. But going past that, when you become a pro athlete, a pro mixed martial arts fighter, do you see yourself kind of working way up the ranks and, well, yeah, the ranks, and probably signing to fight in any of the big names? There's the most
Yeah,
obvious one, the UFC, Bellator, One Championship, and
yeah.
PFL. Do you see yourself going into any of those big promotions?
Yeah, 100%. I see myself going into UFC in the next couple of years. When I turn pro, though, I want to go. I want to sign straight to Cage Rules. I don't really want to be fighting on that shows like down the roads and stuff like that for like
Okay.
100, £200. That's kind of pointless for me, and I haven't been training all these years for be fighting on shows like that when I turn pro. That's why I'm kind of trying to build my name up now, get the experience, get the get the get the name value and win all these fights, win all these tournaments, and people kind of know who I am before I turn pro. And they'd be like, okay, I know who you are. And I get signed to Cage Warriors like straight off the bat and build my name off of Cage Warriors. Because right now they have no females in their roster. I know my name's on their radar already, but it's just about timing at the moment. And I'm a huge advocate of not rushing anything and taking my time as long as I'm not wasting time and getting these fights in. So by the time I go there, it'll be quick. I'll be an amazing fighter, and I'll just be fighting and beating all these girls they put in front of me, and hopefully get the Cage Warriors title belt and go to UFC from there.
Uh, I just lost my train of thought there. Going into the UFC. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say that's good. You have big aspirations, which that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's really good. Which means you set high goals and high standards for yourself. Um, but looking at, I'm sure you do follow, and you must have heard about the issues that fighters do have with pay their salary, especially in an organization such as the
Yeah,
UFC. Whereas other organizations, particularly Bellator, they do pay them well, but they are not as famous. I mean, you talks about building up
yeah,
a brand. So I mean, for me, the way I see it, and if anyone else is listening to this, when they watch this, correct me, please. I'm happy to take the criticism. If you're going to the UFC, you can sacrifice salary for fame. If you're going to Bellator, you can
yeah,
sacrifice fame for a good standard of living in terms
yeah.
of salary.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is just like fighting. You're not going to be fighting forever.
Yeah.
100%. You're gonna retire. It's a short-lived game. So people could say, yeah, make your money and cut. Then what are you gonna do after fighting? If you fight on Bellator, like no disrespect for Bellator, Bellator's amazing, and I'd love to fight there, maybe.
Mm.
But you make your money and cut, and then what? But at least UFC is so lucrative. Like the stars that come out of UFC. So if I go UFC, maybe initially Bellator probably pays more, but like if you get high up, UFC probably pays more than Bellator. And if you get your name value, you'll get so much sponsorships, you'll get so much opportunities. You can branch out to so many
Mm.
different avenues if you play your cards right. And that's what I'm trying to do. The second I do go to UFC, I'm going to start investing. I'm going to start trying to look into like different avenues related to fighting and outside fighting. Because if I do have the name value, people will be more attracted to me. They will try to give me more opportunities that I can do more after fighting. And so it's more, and UFC is more commercialized. If you go down the road and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you fight in UFC, people be like, oh, UFC, well, or only like kind of hardcore fans or MMA fans would know. But if you say, like, if I say I do MMA, people would not really know what that is. But if I say I do
UFC.
UFC, everyone will know. Everyone will know what that is.
No, I
So
know exactly what
it's
you
it's
mean.
kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of a hit and miss. And I'm still young. I still have ages in this game. So maybe in a few years, stuff will be a bit different. I know a lot of fighters now are trying to advocate for change, and people are speaking out more. So yeah, we'll try to see what happens. I'm not on a one-track mind, so I might just start off in UFC, and if I don't really like it, I won't. I'm not hard-headed. I might go to PFL. I know they're doing. They're paying the fighters a lot of things, or even Bellator. We'll just see at the end of the day.
I've only spoken to you for approximately, let's say, 20 minutes, and a little over. But you seem to be the sort of person that, if you did go to the UFC, you could be a good trash talker to hype up your hype up your fight.
I can. If I wanted to, I can. Just ask anyone in the gym, ask any of my friends. I can. I can be the biggest troller. I am the biggest troller if I wanted or needed to be.
Because I get that sense about you, that you can actually hype up the fun, really entertain the audience at the press conference and so on. But no, go ahead.
I try to be an entertaining fighter as well. Because I've been in the crowd and I've watched boring fights, and I've watched boring fights that won the past weekend. Rose's fight. So I've been there. I've watched those fights, and I'd hate to be one of those fighters that just cruises your way into a win. Like if you're not watching me and having fun, then I'm not having fun in the fight as well. I always like to put on a show. I like to have fun in the fights. If I'm having fun in fights, then the crowd's having fun, and then we're all having fun, and we're making money.
Excuse me, just clearing my throat. Right. Look, thank you so much for coming on. This interview would have been longer if my equipment had been up to the task a lot sooner. But look, thank you so much for coming on. And you did tell me that you got to leave for training soon.
Yeah.
So I will let you go. Guys, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the episode, please don't forget to leave a like. Please don't forget to subscribe. We will leave all of Shanelle's all of her links and social media in the description section below if you're watching on YouTube. And before I do let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, family or sponsors or close family or friends?
I want to give a huge shout out to my boxer coach Barry. It's his birthday today. He's 30. He's not old. He's young.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Bazza. Love you to pieces. Shout out to my Team Underground, Stephen, all my training partners out there, Chloe, Attila, David, Ben, Kenny. Shout out to my family at Nosy, all my teammates that's been helping me. Shout out to my sponsors, Sweeney Dodds Fight Gear, Fumetsu, QR Unit, the Maglav as well, Leapfrog, and Notorious, and Provide Security and MMA's Life. Thank you for all my supporters as well. It really means the world to me.
Thank you once again for coming on. So I don't think there's anything else I've got left to ask you now. Take care.